Let's talk about drones for a second. Alright, recently, just a few days ago, I got a DJI Mavic Air, so I'm on my way to do a three-way comparison between the Spark, the Mavic Pro, and the Mavic Air. My dad's driving me here. Thanks, Dad. And I'm going to look at the camera. So for me, that would be low light, dynamic range, and then the different frame rates it has. And then the next category will be how it flies, so the controls, maybe some of the intelligent flight modes, and then the speed and kind of how it works for me, the gimbal, all that other stuff, usability, and then the third one will be portability and how it fits in with how I use a drone. Okay, we're going Spark first. We're gonna go down to this bridge out there, and we're doing the Spark first just because the camera isn't as flexible. You know, the sensor's way smaller, so we're gonna get that out of the way when we still have a ton of light, so we don't like gets too dark and we can't shoot anything with it. All right, here we go. I'm doing a little fly out right now from the bridge. One note is that the Spark is really slow, so it actually just travels out at about 4.5 miles an hour. So that's pretty slow when you're trying to get a lot of those kind of shots. It's kind of nice to be able to go faster for a shot that would be like this, like going real smooth across the water. Taking a look at the footage, I think that it's the one thing about the Spark, it doesn't have a picture profile, so it's not flat. All the color is baked in, which makes it a little hard to work with, but it does a really good job of putting out a nice looking color, I think. And it's not oversaturated or over sharpened. So I think it's a really nice look. It's just that you can't do anything different than you normally would by shooting flat. So we'll just do a kind of a raise up sort of shot right here. And then we'll come down. One really annoying thing about the Spark is, since it's a Wi-Fi connection from your controller to your phone instead of a cable like the Mavic Pro and Mavic Air, the video feed can be quite laggy and not very responsive, and it's also in 720p, which is fine, but it's not in 1080. And then the range of the Spark is it's about 1,500 feet, I think. There's very few drone shots that you need to go further than 1,500 feet out. This little guy's great for someone who's not serious into videography. I think it would actually be fantastic for like a photo blogger or something, maybe on Instagram, who wants to get like photos from a different perspective almost. But it's a good tool, but it's not great for if you want really serious results. So let's land this now, and then let's pull out the Mavic Pro. So now we're flying the Mavic Air. We're in D-Cine-like. So I can color grade this a little bit and probably make it get a little bit more dynamic range out of it. I think the footage in low light still, there's hardly any grain on it, even though I'm at 800 ISO right now. Now I don't have a ND filters for the Mavic Air, so I won't be using them on either. So my shutter speed, like the motion's gonna be a little bit off, but there's no real action, so you probably won't be able to tell much. But the footage looks really, really nice from this thing. Few notes: the Spark only does 30 frames per second at 1080. This goes from 720 to 4K, and it does anything from 24 to 30 to 96 to 120. The Mavic Air, so I think the camera is really good. It has some nice features. It has D-Cine-like, that picture profile. Max speed is about 19 miles per hour is the max speed that we can get in the forward, backward, side to side. So for the usability, it's pretty similar to the Mavic Pro. And then when you kick it up to sport mode, it actually goes 42 miles per hour, forward, backward, side to side. One downside is that when you roll it like this, it acts like a racing drone where the gimbal is kind of all over the place, and that's in sport mode. The battery life, the Spark is only, the Spark is like 13 minutes. The Mavic Air is 21 minutes. Distance is a little farther. I want to say it's like 2,200 feet is the max distance that you can go. You can see the crisp lines of this building. We're shooting in 2.7K right now at 24 frames per second. You can see the crisp lines of this building even though it's so dark outside. There's not much noise in the image, I think. And so I would really rate the camera like a solid 8 out of 10 for this, because it's not an Inspire or a Phantom, but for how small it is, it's pretty incredible. And you can see it takes off straight up like way faster. But yeah, let's fly it out and get a taste of how this footage looks. This is probably the most complicated and probably my favorite drone, because it has a bunch of different features. Like the sensor's big enough where you actually have to focus the image, which is funny. Normally you wouldn't have to do that. But I'm gonna be recording in, let me see, D-Cine-like again, and so the footage will be kind of the same. The colors, it's a little darker, so it's not as cool. But the Mavic Pro, it does 720p all the way up to 4K again. It has a few. It doesn't have as many frame rate options, but it still has enough to be kind of dangerous. So you can do 60 frames at 1080p and 120 and 720p if you're interested in that. The dynamic range is really good. I don't think it's quite as good in low light as the Mavic Air is. The Air just looks so nice and crisp. So when I go to the Pro, I feel like it's not quite as good, but I like the way the drone handles more, so that's what we'll talk about next. You get about 21 miles an hour with the Mavic Pro, just flying all out, forward, backward, side to side. It handles a lot like the Mavic Air does, but it's probably a little bit faster in the regular mode, I would say. And I like that because it allows you to get some different shots that you wouldn't normally get, because it can go so fast. The GPS connection on the Spark is a little flaky. The Mavic Air is super solid. Same story with this one, like you're never gonna disconnect or anything like that. And then with the cable, it feeds the image in 1080p, no lags at all. It's like perfect. I think this drone is like the how it handles, how it flies, kind of the controls are just super solid. That's one of DJI's strong suits. But moving on to the portability, obviously it folds up, so for me it's more portable than even the Spark is, but it's a little bigger than the Mavic Air. So I can fit it in my camera bag, no problem. It's like super easy to do that. But it's just a hair bigger than the Mavic Air. I like this drone because it's fast. I feel like it's really reliable, and it kind of feels like you're using a transformer whenever you fly with it.